Hi, I am back and I've recorded for you this explanation of problem number 14 on page 94, and it's this problem about these horses, and some of them are chestnut, this dark brown color, and some of them are cremello, this lighter brown color, and some are called palomino, which is this golden color with a white tail. And they gave us our parents. There's a parental cross with its offspring ratio there for phenotype, and two other parent crosses there with two other potential phenotype ratio offspring crosses. And they want you to use this information to figure out, first of all, what is the mode of inheritance. Now, the mode of inheritance for this one can be figured out pretty easily by looking right here. You see, when they cross two palominos, you end up getting this 1:2:1 ratio. Now, normally, we only see a 1:2:1 ratio when we're talking about codominance or incomplete dominance. In both of these, the heterozygote appears as its own phenotype, different from either of the homozygotes. So that's different from Mendelian. So as a result, since this palomino, this 2 right here, palomino, tells us that this is going to be either incomplete dominance or codominance. Then when you look at the phenotypes, you realize that the palomino, which looks like it's our heterozygote there, you don't see both traits at the same time. Instead, you see a totally different trait, this intermediate color. So because you see this intermediate color or a different phenotype than either parent, we're going to call that incomplete dominance. If instead I had a dark brown pony with white spots or really light spots, then I would have called that codominance because you would have seen both traits at the same time. Okay, so now we have figured out the mode of inheritance. But then we have to next figure out what the genotypes for these different horses are going to be. So and we have to pick some letters. And, in genetics, you can pick whatever symbols you want. But I am going to use the letter C. And if we go ahead and we're going to zoom in a little bit here, I'm going to go ahead and use the letter C because of coat color. And because this is codominance, I'm going to use a C for both of them, but I'm going to do a C and a numeral 1 as a superscript, C1 to represent chestnut, and I'm going to put a C2 to represent cremello, and since palomino is the incomplete dominant heterozygote, I'm going to do them a C1 and a C2, one copy of each allele. All right, for the next part, this is part B. They have the F1 and F2 crosses for initial matings between cremello and chestnut horses. So if we go ahead and use our P generation or our parents are going to be a cremello, which is going to be a chestnut, which according to my key is going to be a C2 crossed with a cremello, which is C1. Their F1, first generation of offspring, is going to be, no matter what, they're going to get a C1 from this parent. And no matter what, they're going to get a C2 from this parent. So all of their offspring will be C1, C2, which we know that heterozygote for us we're going to call palomino, which is 100%. Then in the F2 generation, if you cross two heterozygotes, you're always I would expect to get 1/4 C1, 1/2 C1, C2, and 1/4 C2, C2. So as a result, we're seeing this classic 1 to 2 to 1 ratio where we've got one, we're going to say one of the chestnut to every 2 of the palominos to every 1 of the cremellas. And that's the answer to part B.